Ducky, and today we are back in the How Much Art Can You Make by the wonderful Chantal Arts. As usual, we are going to do 3 prompts, so let's get into it. Which makeup look is best? Add colour and pattern to the eyes. So of course I did my sketch off camera, and let's get into it. I think I will need to cover these in white acrylic so that they don't show through my paper, because at the moment they definitely do, but we'll get to that later. As much as I love Chantal's art, I am a big fan of very thin eyebrows, and I also don't want to use my alcohol markers directly in my book because of bleed through, so I took a photo of this page and then used these outlines to make my sketches with minor adjustments to the eyebrows. Now, if you are someone who regularly watches my videos, you will probably know that I normally start with my fine liner outlines and then go in my alcohol markers. But I wanted some thick outlines for this page, similar to the original eyes on the page, which would mean using my black acrylic Artex markers, which I believe would smudge and run with my alcohol markers, unlike my waterproof fine liners, so that decided the order in which I had to use them. I would start with explaining the first eye, but you only really see the pupil until near the end, as this one is pretty line art heavy. So on to the second eye. Anyone who watches either my YouTube or TikTok knows I love intricate and creative alternative goth makeup styles, and I think these all fit this. Well, maybe except for the next one. I love a bloody makeup look, so I had to include one. I really like the idea of an ombre eyebrow for this look, although now I'm looking at it, I'm not sure how you'd do that in real life and make it look good, given you probably wouldn't have the black outline, so maybe it would need to be an ombre from a darker red. I don't think I've ever done a bloody look with this many splatters before, so I definitely will need to in October for Spooky Month. I also love how this came out. I made sure to include a bit of an eyeliner wing and some lovely drips. I also used a darker red to create some depth. I decided to create different matching iris looks. I assume you'd use fashion contacts to create these looks. For this one, I just did blood red irises, which makes me think of vampires. The third makeup look is a rainbow paintbrush, and it was Pride Month when I was doing my sketches, so that's probably why I thought about doing a rainbow piece. However, Pride isn't just for 1 month, it's forever. Queer people need to be represented, celebrated, and included all year, not just June. I really like the idea of the paintbrush creating this swipe of colour across the eye. I don't know how practical this look would be, because you definitely need to have an asymmetric design, because this one on both eyes would probably look a bit odd. I also just wouldn't be able to do this look because my eyes water incessantly and I can't really have any designs on my inner corner without them smudging instantly. I love the little paintbrush on this design. I don't think I've ever done a makeup piece including a paintbrush. I think to do this piece I would need to get more coloured eyeliners. I've had my eye on the Glisten Cosmetics Spectrum eyeliners for a while now, but I just can't justify spending money on makeup when I have such old makeup that I want to use up fast. For this eye I gave them a rainbow iris with a star-shaped pupil, purely because I thought it looked cool. On to the fourth eye. I thought a fish skeleton would be a really fun look. I've done a drawing like this before, but hadn't thought of making it into a makeup look until now. I feel like this fish just looks really sad, and that just seems really funny to me because I didn't try to make this fish skeleton expressive in any way. In terms of this drawing, it was fairly simple once the sketch was done. Just a beigey coloured marker for all the shadows and some outlines and it was done. For eyeliner it would be a little more involved because I'd need to do a white base for the bones. While I am very pale, my skin isn't quite as white as the paper. I also feel like this would pop so well on a darker skin tone because there would definitely be a bit of a better contrast. For this eye I chose to go with a white pupil and iris with some beige grey shading. I always love the look of a white contact, it's such a creepy look, although apparently they are rather difficult to see through and are rather uncomfortable. Onto the line art.
and this really started to pull this all together, especially the fish skeleton. I couldn't find my 0.8 fine liner, so I tried using my 0.3 fine liner, but it just didn't work for this, especially next to my thick paint pen lines. But luckily I did find my 0.8 fine liner eventually, and it was just sat on top of my hair markers. Yep, the ones you can see in the corner. What can I say? I am so good at using my eyes and finding things, and definitely don't lose my phone multiple times a day. And finally, back to the first eye. I really love gothic cathedral inspired makeup, but I've always been a little intimidated by this because it has so many details. I feel like small architecture art always looks so intimidating because it has so many details, but when you then make that art, you realise a lot of the really small details are just deliberately placed scribbles. I love doing dark architecture line art for exactly that reason, because it looks so much more complicated than it actually is. Although it still does take a fair amount of time for me to draw. The final touch to really make these pieces pop are the highlights with my white gel pen. I used it anywhere I had gone out of the lines to clean up the edges. A bit like using concealer to clean up the edges of your eyeliner. And then added some highlights where necessary, like on the irises, the blood drips, and the paint to make it look glossy and wet. The last step for this page, I needed to cover up the original painted eyes. These took a couple layers of acrylic markers. I always find printed black is more difficult to cover than black paint. But I managed to cover it pretty well, and it didn't show through the paper anymore. Although when I cut the eyes out and stuck them in, there was some of the original eyes sticking out from behind. I added a couple layers of white on top of those areas, but they will always be there because the white paint is a different shade to the paper. But I think I've managed to cover them enough that you don't really notice them and your eyes are drawn to the art instead.
Okay, so here's the final page. I was able to cover up most of the original eyes. It's a little bit showing, but I don't think that's a problem. Let's go on to the next page. Why one line? Fill this entire page without lifting the pencil. And again, here's the one I made earlier. Here's our sketch. Let's get into it.
So I decided for the one line page, I really didn't want to have the line going across the middle of the page, so I needed to find two separate subjects that would make sense to go with each other and would work well with the one line drawing style. This is a style I don't think I've ever really done before, at least not well. So I decided to go with the two cats in our house, Bandit and Cookie. And I also have a plethora of reference images to go off already in my phone. I don't think anyone who owns cats has a camera roll that isn't absolutely full of cat pictures. Now, I know the prompt says about your pen not leaving the page, and I'd love to try drawing like that. However, I have issues with my wrists due to childhood arthritis and hypermobility, so I cannot do it in one go without causing a lot of pain in my wrist and hand. And it probably wouldn't look good anyway, as my hand and wrist would completely lock in place. I really struggled with the one line drawing of Cookie. When I did the sketch on my tablet, I did it in one line, and I did the sketch about a month ago. So I completely forgot where the line went and I had to start and stop multiple times because I was struggling to work this one out. And because I was struggling to work this one out, I had to cut bits out because all you could see was the top of my head. I really thought I had managed to film this video with super minimal head and frame, and clearly that is not the correct case. I am trying, I promise. This is a really quick piece, so that was nice, especially before the next piece, which took a lot longer.
Okay, that's this one done, and on to the next page. We're not doing this page because I have an idea for this, but I need all my art supplies for it. So, on to the next page again. How thick are these lines? Draw the first thing that comes to mind. And of course, I did a sketch of camera again, so let's get into it.
So I really sat on this prompt for a while. I was really struggling to think of what to do, and I finally thought about skunks and raccoons being stripy. And then it evolved to this, which I love how this came out. It's such a fun little piece, but it's not very obviously about stripes. But oh well, for me the prompts are purely that, just something to prompt a piece of art, and I probably wouldn't have come up with this piece by myself. I kept having to cut pieces of the sketch and colouring in of this piece out because yet again my head, or more my hair, kept getting in frame. I think I need to clip my fringe back down against my head to stop it getting in frame so much because it's curly, it has a lot of volume, especially on my fringe. The digital sketch for this piece took me several days whilst in hospital, and I don't think I would have made this piece if I didn't have a tablet to do my sketch digitally. I really struggled with working out how to draw skunks and raccoons, especially with trying to simplify them and make them a little more cartoon looking. Also, whilst there's a lot of reference images of raccoons holding things, there's not so many references out there for skunks holding things, so I kind of had to work that one out on my own. I don't think I've ever looked at skunk and raccoon anatomy as much as I have done so here. It's making me think that maybe I need to draw more animals to get better at this. So if you have any suggestions on what animals I should start trying to draw, comment below and maybe I'll give it a go. It might be a good way for me to get into making shorts again maybe. Being able to draw everything on separate layers and move things around until I was happy with the composition was really helpful for making this piece so much better. For all the rubbish around at the bottom of the digital piece, I was able to draw a couple crushed cans, a bottle, a couple straws, etc., and then replicate them, and then erase any areas that would be hidden by the gunk or something. This made it so much less overwhelming, and I could make sure everything made sense size-wise, and I didn't have to redraw the same thing over and over again. I love raccoons. I think they are so cute and fascinating creatures. I know there's a creator who talks about raccoon behaviours and is like a raccoon researcher or scientist. I think maybe both, and they've taught me a lot about raccoons. So while they are adorable and I would love to have one as a pet, they are not pet material and can be very vicious and dangerous. So I'll keep my love of them to just seeing videos and photos of them. I'm also not sure if wild raccoons even exist in the UK. I'm gonna look that up. No, they are not native to the UK. That's probably why I've never seen one. Although there have been over like 20 sightings of them in the wild in the UK from escaped pets, which is a bit wild, especially as it's highly illegal to own a raccoon in the UK as a pet. Like, can land you up in prison for owning one. There are some caveats to that though, due to existing pet raccoons in the UK, but it is heavily regulated as raccoons are very invasive to the UK. This piece took a while. There were so many little details to fill in. I used my favourite art supply for this piece, my alcohol markers. I think the little pizza box is so cute and makes sense because the raccoon had to get its pizza slice from somewhere. Also guys, please don't throw out food, please recycle it. It's so much better for the earth. I know some places don't have food recycling collections, which is wild to me, but if you don't have collections, if you have a garden, please at least consider composting your food. The food waste situation in America makes my head hurt. I know a lot of it comes from companies throwing away perfectly good food. I have had to use a food bank in the past, and it makes me sad to know how much food is being thrown away every day whilst people starve. That was a bit of a tangent, but yeah, if my views weren't obvious, food is a human right and no one should be going hungry. When I'm in a better place financially, I would love to be able to donate to my local food banks to give back to them. Anyway, back to this piece. I really enjoyed this piece, but I also just don't have much to say about it, which I never understand how I can really enjoy a piece but have no idea how to talk about it.
And there's our final page complete. So, to recap, today we did 4 makeup looks. Which is your favourite? We made 2 one-line drawings, and we created a raccoon and a skunk eating some trash together. So, Which was your favourite prompt this week? I think mine's gotta be the trash pandas or the skunk and raccoon, because I just put so much effort into this one and I think you can really tell. I feel like these would be a really cute set of stickers whenever I finally get a shop up and running, so let me know what you think about that. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!